Hello, greetings everyone, and the webinar is now live. So we're going to have an interesting time. We're 2 minutes early, I think we're 1 minute early. So we will wait and then we will start exactly on time. And I should make a note, and I guess I'll say it again as well. You can ask questions, and I think that we should have our team answering you, letting you know that your question is noted. I don't know if I'll be able to answer all questions. The earlier call with India, I was able to because there weren't that many, and we ran a full 2 hours. So it looks like it's an hour and a half, or maybe an hour and 40 minutes without questions. We have three wonderful people who will be presenting with me today as well. And you have Avi, who's going to be talking about the markets, the rough. And let me kind of wait and you'll see who the who the people are. But Sonia is going to be great. Elle's going to be great. So it's going to be a lot of interesting fun, and we're looking forward to a wonderful webinar. Okay, we still have a few moments. And I hope everybody is okay out there. And by the way, you guys are monitoring. I want to thank Joshua. I want to thank Avichai, and I want to thank Avital, my loyal three team members who are making sure that the webinar goes off without a hitch and that things are working really well. And by the way, guys, remind me if I'm getting too close to the camera, if I'm doing something else, or if there's any kind of a problem, please let me know. I'm speaking to everyone from my home in Jerusalem, Israel. And so that's going to be an interesting timeline. We're here at about 7 p.m. And now it is 12 noon in the United States of America. Hello, America. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you. This is the Rappaport presentation webinar on surfing waves of change. And this is not just about waves of change, it's about surfing them. We'll start off with just a few moments telling you about the Rappaport Group. I think values are really like the most important thing, especially in troubling times, but at all times. So if you want to succeed in business, I think one of the most important things is to know who you are. What is your identity? What do you believe in? The Rappaport values are ethical, transparent, competitive, and efficient markets. And, if it's not ethical, we don't want to do it. And even though we can make lots of money, transparent and competitive is a very interesting concept because when you're transparent and you add competition, you get fair market value, you make markets. So RapNet is an example of something that pushes transparency and competition, as does the Rappaport price list, as does Rappaport auctions. So that's really a cornerstone to what we are. So we were established in 1978, actually 76. I started, but 78 was the first price list. That's 42 years ago, which seems like a long time. 150 employees, 9 offices, 6 countries, over 20,000 clients who are paying us for our services in 121 countries. And we're really in the added value services business. We don't buy diamonds for our own account or keep them and try to sell things. So we're very different in the sense that we're really in the added value service, which is today is more popular than it used to be. But we broker and we auction and we provide RapNet and the Rappaport price list. And here's a brief discussion of what we do: information services, prices, magazine, diamonds.net, which we're going to be redoing very soon as well. So we're going to be doing a lot of more electronic information, data, RapNet, the diamond trading network, but it's not just diamonds, it's jewelry. So it's a more general trading network now. Rappaport Auctions and Trading Services, which is really an interesting part of the business, built on the fact that you'll see later there's a tremendous amount of Americans looking to sell jewelry. And as the population ages, quality control, grading, and certification. So if anybody would like to do business with us, reach out to us. Martin@Rappaport.com. Work, info@Rappaport.com, rapnet.net, whatever, red.com. So feel comfortable calling us, wanting to do business with us. But that's not the purpose of today's webinar. And so we're really going to talk about the markets and what's going on. But one thing I'd like to do, even before we talk about diamonds and anything, I mean, we got to be aware of the fact that, it's just terrible. Over 2 million people have passed away. 100 million people have gotten this corona. And we just have to think like people, human beings, about other human beings. And so I think that we should take a moment here. We should be thankful to God that we are alive. And I'm going to stand up. I'm going to take a minute, and just think about people that have passed away. I know some that did, and a silent prayer for those that are ill. So, with everybody's respect and permission, I'm going to take off, and I'll mark it off on my watch as well. 1 minute, please. Thank you for your time and consideration. When we think about COVID, and this is pretty much the last line on COVID, we should consider the fact that we're dealing with physical aspects of how we exist as people, these social relationships everybody can feel, tremendous impact on the economic environment and the political environment. These are all tremendous changes that we're experiencing, and these are all things that are driven by COVID, but there's a lot of other things happening besides COVID, as you'll soon see. What's the agenda? What do we want to accomplish today with this webinar? So first of all, we need to understand that we have gone through unbelievably difficult time of uncertainty. We're going through a period of unbelievable, unprecedented uncertainty. But things are emerging. It's starting to become clear. What are the waves of change that are coming up? So what can we say? Professor Curnow at NYU said, so what can you say about the information? What can you say about the situation? So we want to understand what are the things we can think about, these waves, and what are the trends? What can you do about them to improve your business? And you really need to think about, okay, what do we know? What can we say? And in fact, that's the goal of today's presentation, to think about it and understand, not just what was, but also what's going to happen and what can we do about it? What do we know about the future? Now, waves are strange things, A wave, first of all, there's not one wave. Waves keep coming, coming. We talk about the waves of Corona, but you can think about waves of change, waves of challenge, waves of disruption that continue to come one after the other after the other. So, people talk about some new normal. I don't know if there's any normal anymore at all, but waves are repeating themselves. The other thing about waves, and especially in surfing waves, you have to have a presence of mind about the entire flow, what's happening, how the ocean, okay? But you also have to be able to deal with your own specific thing. So what's happening in the external environment, Corona, all kinds of things that are happening in the new economy or whatever, that's beyond your control. You don't control Corona, you don't control, you'll see what Congress does, you don't control these things. But then there's the question, what do you control? What can you actually do? How do you play, or how do you surf the waves of change? And to explain that to you, look at this guy here, okay? He's surfing, his hands are up, he's cool. Oh my God, look at him, he almost gets wiped out. And he survives, but look at that, okay? Now, what do you do with your feet? What do you do with your balance? What do you do with your board? Now, those waves are coming. Can you understand your role, what you're going to do? And, be careful, because look, this guy thought he had it made, and then boomba, boomba, he gets clobbered. I didn't even know if he was going to make it out of this thing. And this is the story of what we are going through now. And this is the challenge for everybody to think about. All right, got the waves, not afraid of them, going to ride them. Now, what steps do you need to do? How do you train yourself to ride these waves of change? So that's really a very good example of how you need to think about things that are happening right now. And what are the primary trends? What are these waves? First of all, there's the issue of money. Money is becoming politicized. The politicalization, but they call it the politicization of money. Now, okay, there's always politics and money, but not like you see it today. Not like you see the use of money. And I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about the way money is being used to combat coronavirus, for example. And I'll explain to you, but how you relate to money has got to change. The polarization trend. And it's not just in the United States where you find a lot of people that are saying, hold it, I'm entitled to things. And, you need to help me, or you need to make up for all those years that I was having problems, versus meritocracy, where people say, no, 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 we're a capitalist structure, and we just give we give money to people who are successful and can make more money or can do better things. We're not into this entitlement thing. And there are these two forces now. And the big thing is deglobalization. Look at the relationship between the United States and China. Now, it's no one's evil, but it's just changing. It's just splitting out. It's just the world is coming apart in terms of the old days of kumbaya. Don't worry, everybody loves everybody. Those years are changed, and we are now in an environment of separation for a lot of things. It's sad, but whatever it is, it's good. It's sad. Look what's happening in Russia now, and look what's happening in China now. Look what's happening in the United States. So, there's this differentiation. It's just a trend. It's a trend that people are moving apart. And then we power. Now, we power is amazing. We got these millennials, and we got these people thinking, and digitalization, or the media, you want to call it social media, that's created an environment where people work together and interact with each other to create these virtual communities that are extremely powerful, extremely powerful. And the way people think, the way millennials think, we target the millennials. It's not just millennials, but the way the younger generation, the new generation of people that are taking over leadership think. And of course, environmentalism. If I'm in my late 60s, right? I don't worry that much about environmentalism, but my kids do. They say, well, we're actually going to feel the heat. So people at different ages have different perspectives, have different relationships with things, but environmentalism is very strongly a trend. Social responsibility is a trend, as you'll see. And then inside of this we power is this me identity. Who am I? I want goodness. People want to be good. They really do. And they have personal identity, and then they have their social identity and how they are inside and outside, and what that means for the jewelry they buy or how they express themselves. So these are major trends of the me, the we, polarization, and money. And let's think about this money thing, okay? We're talking now about 2.8 trillion, not billion. We're beyond the billions, 12 zeros. There's a discussion today whether Congress will approve the $1.9 trillion deal. They probably will. And another 900 million. Okay. So you're talking about a lot of money that is going to be going out there. 331 million Americans, $8,358 for every American. Wow. It's just a lot of money. And it's funny, we were talking to pawn shop guys, and people that go to pawn shops, they get a lot of money now because it's for them, it's a lot of money. You get 8,300. You're not going to get the $8,358. You get whatever the 4,000 or whatever dollars. But for someone that doesn't have a lot of money, it's great. And what they've done is they've gone to pawn shops, they bought things, and then they can pawn those things back in and get loans when they need them. So there are literally tens of millions of unbanked Americans that would then they would buy things, and then they would use what they bought to kind of give them some financial security. They don't have bank accounts. So when you think about what's going on, and right now, there's a tremendous flood of money coming into the U.S. It will come into the U.S. economy. Huge amount of money. And that's going to change behavior. Now, what are people doing with the money? And this gets complicated a little, because let me explain. If everybody just spent the money, you get the money, you spend the money, then that drives the U.S. economy to the degree that they spend the money on things that are being sold by other Americans. But if the United States government gives a ton of money to everybody and they buy stuff at Walmart that comes from China, well, then you're going to create economic development in China and not in America. And so when you think about this consumption story, and you think about tariffs, and you think about what happens with these relationships, there's interactive scenarios that cause different things to happen. But a lot of people are taking the money and they're saving it. And how are they going to save it? You put money in the bank, you get 0%. It's ridiculous. So they're putting the money into the stock market, and a lot of money is going to the stock market. And you think about, are these stocks worth it? Well, I don't know if it's worth it. It's where you're going to put your money. And since everybody puts their money there, it goes up, and then more people want to put their money there. And I'll go into that a little later. So we have a scenario over here where the S&P goes up. Look, let's say I had a grocery store and I'm selling like, orange. I'm selling an orange for $1. Okay, come by my store, orange, $1, nice orange. But now let's say everybody in my community gets, I don't know, a lot of money. And they all want to buy oranges. And I only have so many oranges. I would start selling oranges for $2, $5, $10 an orange. Because the money, the quantity of money drives the price, or you may want to even call it the value. So the stock may or may not be good, really, but it's worth more because everybody has too much money. And that's what we're seeing, and that's what we're going to see, and that's the trend. And the trend of money, massive amounts of money. I mean, hang on to your seat. That's coming, and it's going to be out there, and it's going to be working, and it is going to change the way people think about things. Also, how they think about jewelry. Will there be investment diamonds? I think there will. Will there be inflation? I think there will. So these are all trends that we're going to be looking at as the money permeates. And look how it works also. The S&P over here is that orange line, and the blue line is unemployment. And what you're seeing is that in the very beginning, when unemployment shot up, that blue line went from 5 million unemployed to 25 or 22 million unemployed. That stock market went, and it was really crashing earlier in anticipation of it. But now that unemployment is down to around 10 million, a little more than 10 million, a little more than 5. We're still double the amount of people unemployed as we were. But the stock market's just doing great. It's just unbelievable. S&P, strong, strong, strong. Quantity of money. But also the concerns about the future are not that bad, not that strongly there. But look at this one. And this is kind of amazing. I was surprised to see it myself, okay? DHI after VS2 1-carat diamonds on RapNet. This is not the Rappaport price list, okay? This is the free-flowing market where people are offering goods for sale. Look how it's tracking the S&P. So you want trends? You want to know what's going to happen? Well, I can't say everything's going to be the S&P, but the U.S. or general diamond prices, I think the S&P is going to be a pretty good indicator. Well, what happens if it goes down? Well, it goes down, it goes down. So you keep your eye on that. You keep your eye on the trend. You keep your eye on how much money's out there. And then the surplus of money might go into diamonds to some degree, but you're going to see it in this kind of a relationship, which is actually kind of amazing. And this is the most volatile of times, This is not normal times. This is when there's a lot of volatility. You're seeing diamond prices tracking the S&P, which I thought was amazing. But let's think about the world. Remember I said there's this deglobalization. Remember that? Okay, just a few minutes ago. Now, so what does that mean? Well, let's look at our world. Let's look at our markets. Okay, so you got U.S. GDP at 20.9 billion. No, 20 trillion, 20.9 trillion actually. China's at 14.7, okay? And India is only at 2.8. So when we think of consumer markets, USA and China, obviously. The US has got 335 million people, China's got 1.3, 1.4 billion. So that GDP per capita is a key indication of who's buying diamonds. Wealthier people, poor people don't necessarily. But China's coming on strong, everybody. It's powerful, and it's important for diamonds. And we just need to see what is out there. So this trend of GDP growth and big is going to be important. People talk about the Indian local market for diamonds being strong, and it is, but it can't compete with America or China. It's just not the same thing. It's that GDP per capita, and it's the size of the GDP that drives this kind of diamond demand that we would look at. Now, look at these polished that we're saying. This chart is a little problematic. There's a lot of estimates. We only have 11 months for the USA. Hong Kong fourth quarter we don't have, and my economists, my people working in economics for me, they're saying it's a big mistake. It's actually only about 170 million. But just taking a look, 50% down in the United States 2020, which is not terrible given the fact that, there's a big coronavirus, people can go around, but the market, this is the polished diamonds coming into the country. And I guess you could also say that there's been some reduction in the, I don't know if you all else can hear that phone there in the background, but okay. There's been some reduction in inventory maybe at the retailer level as well, or dealer level in the United States, 964 in Hong Kong, which is unbelievably down 74%, and China only down 26%. So, this is interesting that China has been coming up. But overall, when you look at the actual total numbers, but something else, China is importing more diamonds than the United States. And especially if you put China and Hong Kong together. So you're at about 5.5 billion, maybe 5.8 billion there. That's big. So we really need to understand the important role that China plays buying diamonds and how China competes very carefully and correctly with the United States for diamonds, not all types, there's certain types of diamonds. So look, China is fragile. So we know there's a trend towards China. We know there's a trend towards separation. We know it's going to be reasonable for tariffs to remain and this trade war to continue and maybe even evolve into currency warfare, which we're starting to see. These are trends to expect. We know there will be protests and we know the coronavirus is there, but China is fragile. And so that demand can turn down. And I must say that we are so opposed to all those horrible people doing all the smuggling. It's evil, the mother of evil, these smugglers, because first of all, it's not fair. An honest person pays taxes and a dishonest person competes with them offering lower prices because they're not paying taxes. That's terrible. And the government will crack down in a minute. I mean, China's, they're not going to put up with any nonsense. So anybody who's selling diamonds to other people who are selling diamonds to people who are smuggling, don't do it. Stop. Know how your diamonds are being distributed. And this globalization story, you got to understand that it was good while it was good, but the trend for this year, I hope it'll come back. I think President Biden is a great man doing great things, and I think that he's going to try to bring the world together and try back to go from bilateralism to multilateralism. I don't think he's going to have a lot of success, but I think he's a great guy and he's going to try to do good things. So, but don't count on this globalization being a great pusher for demand. Now, diamonds, we're okay. We can sell China, we can sell, we can sell America, but even in exports from India to China not getting along. India and China not getting along. So China kind of holds them up at customs, and so everybody ships everything to Hong Kong first. There's this stress in this relationships that could also become much tougher as time goes on, and you can expect currency volatility. You can expect currency volatility as well, which is a trend that you should be aware of if you're running your business. So diamonds may be a pretty good thing to have in a more uncertain world where you have countries and all kinds of strange things going on. So you might see inflation, you might see stuff like that that's going to push the globalization. And this is an interesting thing over here because you see this little drop over here towards the end of the year, and these are 30 pointers. Now, we have, what is today's date? Today's the 4th, right? So Valentine's Day is the same day as Chinese New Year. So we're hoping that this will pick up again. But this thing told you that China was kind of taking it a little easier because these 30 pointers and the better quality 30, that is the bread and butter of the Chinese engagement ring demand. So watching that come down a little bit, we notice people, we tell people, be aware. My latest reports over here, when this is 0201, it's got a little bit, but we're seeing some problems there, which means that China is strong and is important, but it may not continue as strong, as important as it has in the past, especially if the government cracks down because of smuggling and stuff. But overall, I'm bullish on the Chinese diamond demand. I'm not bullish on the relationship between China and the United States. Tariffs are going to continue, get worse, but I do think that China is going to remain the second most important diamond market and will be critical for stability in prices and stuff. Now, looking at the U.S. polished over time, and this is now, we can't look at goods under the half carat because the data for the United States is total garbage. It's ridiculous. It's like, I don't know who's smuggling what, but the United States, it's embarrassing. They have been exporting $4 billion a year more of diamonds under the half carat than they have been importing, and there are no diamond mines in America. So I have to write a letter now that President Biden is in. I have to write a letter, but it's crazy. So I don't trust the data. But looking at the goods over half carat, they're a pretty good indication because how many people are going to buy Melly in the States because they don't have that much manufacturing in the States? Most of the manufacturing is elsewhere, so that would be jewelry imports. Anyways, over the half carat, look how we're coming down here. So, we need advertising, but this is the trend. Now, I think the trend's going to stop and reverse itself. So I'm not telling you, I expect things to go to nothing. And But I do think that we're coming off a low number here. So I would expect U.S. net polished diamond imports to increase in the year ahead. Maybe we'll get up to 5.5 billion. So, but we should just be aware of what's coming down and what has happened. And don't forget, 2019 was not a banner year. It was also a year of declines, as you can see. The U.S. Polished imports to diamonds, we were down 28% in 2019. We're down to 3 billion. We were at 6 billion in 2019. 2021, I'd like to see us back to about 5 billion. So I think we've hit a low year, and I think we're going to see more diamond imports coming in, even though there's a lot of social and other problems happening. And this just shows you also that there's certain months of the year when diamond demand is very strong, like traditionally maybe the first quarter as well, like May. Look at May out there, you're $1.4 billion in 2019 and nothing. And that's, because of Corona, obviously, in March also. So I think we actually went negative in April for the first time in a long time. So I'm looking for a better market, but I am telling you, we should be careful and we should see what's happening. And I think that, and there is less inventory. You'll see that Avi will talk about that. This is a little jumpy graph. I'm not going to bother with it. Now, this is very interesting. In the United States, imports is the blue line, and Indian exports is the purple line. We don't have the U.S. import data for December yet. So look at this. What it means is that Indian exports are extremely reliant or tied to U.S. imports. And that's an interesting factor. The balance of what's in here is probably China and some other countries that they're exporting to. A lot of goods moving to Hong Kong. And I'd like to point out also that these Indian exports is polished diamonds, right? And it's net, they export a certain amount, they bring them back in. And, it's not because they send something to a show. India has got a real serious problem because they're not a trading market. And you've got this thing, I'll call it Africanization of diamonds manufacturing, where De Beers is selling diamonds to people who cut them in Africa. Now, if you cut diamonds in Africa, you don't want to re-import them to India and pay 7.5 plus 10%, 8.25% tax. And again, the customs makes you miserable. So you just ship this to Hong Kong or maybe somewhere else. I think New York has a case to be made, and does Israel to be a diamond trading center. But as long as India is charging 8.25% import tax and polished diamonds, they do not have a chance to be in a trading center. And it's really a shame because they're going to lose that business. And I see them losing it every day. Maybe the next quarterly, I do these talks every quarter, we'll show you maybe exports from Botswana, polished diamonds from Botswana. So India's net, according to the Indian government, is a 35% decline, $12.5 billion. And according to the United States, with the United States imports from India and re-exports and stuff, you're talking about a 63% decline. And again, we're talking about goods over the half carat. There might be goods coming through Hong Kong, but through other markets because of the manufacturing in Botswana. So whatever the situation is, we had a tough year. The trends were down strongly. I think we're at the bottom. I don't think it's going to get worse, actually. This is a standard thing we push up there to show the rough and polished prices. And there's a tremendous concern that as soon as things get a little better, people push up rough prices. And I worry because I don't see any profits there. And so, now if there's uncertainty about money and there's all kinds of other things going on, and really it's about the banks just making it possible. The banks are giving money to it's just giving people money. So instead of creating a trading market, a lot of Indian banks are just putting out the money. And America's pushing out money too. So what we're going to see over here is this gap. And if this gap grows anymore, it's going to be, even as it is now, it's very problematic, very problematic. And so I would encourage people not to pay high prices for rough diamonds. An interesting thing that I have to buy rough diamonds. And I think there's an interesting argument here about not cubic zirconia, but about synthetic diamonds. Now, one of the unintended consequences, and we'll discuss this later, about synthetic diamonds is that a diamond manufacturer in Surat, India, no longer is held hostage by De Beers or Alrosa to get the goods to run his factory. See, in the old days, if you didn't get the rough, you couldn't run the factory. You didn't know what to do with your workers. Now, you just cut synthetic diamonds. No problem. lab grown. So that takes the pressure off of diamond manufacturers in places like Surat to have to buy rough at high prices. It's a very complicated story with these rough prices and the relationship between rough and polished. But I am hoping that there will be some level of rationality that will allow people to make some decent money manufacturing. And here you can see how the sites came back. So the blue line is 2019 and the orange line. So we're seeing a resurgence, a re-establishment. Now here you got all this stuff over here. This is Corona all over it. This is all Corona. Okay, this whole area here. Where you had like much less sales, so inventories accumulated out there. But now, you know, but I would caution greatly against irrational exuberance, which means, oh, it's great, everything's over, let's go. No. Waves, baby, waves. Okay, so Corona's not over. This is not over, and we should be very careful about rough diamond prices and stuff. But again, I'm talking to America now. My earlier talk was with India. I don't know how many people are buying rough there, so I wouldn't worry about it. But don't get pulled into higher diamond prices unless you can actually have a customer for it. And there are reasons that prices can increase, like I showed you before. S&P 500, people more wealthy, you know, people own stocks, they're more likely to buy diamonds, they have money. So, you know, watch that, but make sure you have customers. You don't want to get stuck with a lot of inventory. At this stage, I'm going to hand things over to Avi Kravitz, Senior Analyst at Rappaport, and he's going to talk a little bit about the supply side and what's going on. So, Avi, take it over.
Thank you, Martin. It's great to be here. I'm going to just share my screen before I get started. And there we go. Okay. Okay, so thank you, Martin. Hello, everyone. It's really great to be here. The industry is at somewhat of a crossroad at the beginning of 2021. When you consider the fundamental changes that took effect in the market in the last year, and that's going to affect how we operate moving forward. Some of these changes were a result of COVID-19 and the pandemic, and other developments were brewing even before the pandemic. But what we want to assess, and what I'm going to spend hopefully about 10 minutes discussing with you, is these changes and the impact that they have on the pipeline. How does it affect the pipeline? Consider the mining, manufacturing, wholesale, and retail sectors, and how each is relating to the other in light of the changes that are taking place. And so I've identified four factors. I think there are a lot more, but I think these are the core issues that we're dealing with in terms of the pipeline that are influencing the pipeline in 2021 and moving and beyond. We're seeing a drive towards greater efficiency, a shift in inventory in terms of who holds the inventory and who bears the inventory risk. There's an emphasis on beneficiation being the added value that African countries can bring to their diamond industry, and then finally customization of supply. And I'm going to spend a little time on each of these points in my little presentation here. So firstly, the drive towards greater efficiency, and it brings up a number of questions. Firstly, how much rough do we need to satisfy end consumer demand? And that's really the rough market's big challenge. Furthermore, we ask ourselves, how quickly and seamlessly can we move the diamond along the distribution chain? And that's changed significantly, I think, in the last number of years, and particularly in the last year of the pandemic. It's been a challenge to move goods around the globe, but it's also highlighted how we can do so more efficiently. But the big change is the need for inventory at the retail level, and it brings the question. The simple calculation is, if we have a rise in consumer demand, that should translate to a need for more diamonds. But considering our past, it's not necessarily the case. And considering our past and where we're going towards, it's not necessarily the case in how the market is developing, because the age of retail inventory excesses has really ended in 2018. Before then, the jewelers would be happy to buy bulk inventory and put it in their safes and hold it in their stores until the goods get sold. But they learned a lesson in the financial crisis that that too much inventory or dead inventory brings a lot of risk. So jewelers can reduce risk by owning less inventory, and they learned that lesson also to some extent last year. I mean, how do they own less inventory? How do they bring goods to? How do they offer goods to the consumer but hold less inventory in their stores? And firstly, we've seen a trend in the last decade that jewelers are taking more goods on memo. Another way that they can do that is by demanding a faster turnaround from their suppliers, that they can call up a supplier and say, I need a 1 carat HVS2 diamond within 3 days. Can you supply it? Do you have it? And that puts that shifts that demand towards the supplier. And then finally, and probably most significantly, is the development of e-commerce. That e-commerce allows retailers to really offer a lot more product without holding it in their stores. If you think about the internet, it really is this massive centralized display cabinet. And it enables retailers to tap into their suppliers' inventory at any time and in any place, not necessarily holding it in their store. And so, where does that leave the midstream, the manufacturer and the dealer? On the one hand, polished suppliers need inventory to effectively service their clients, the jeweler. On the other hand, too much polished inventory in the market has a negative impact. As we saw in the last crisis, before the pandemic, there was an oversupply of diamonds that had a negative impact on the market. And so manufacturers and dealers are approaching this, or the only tool that they have at their disposal is to bring about greater efficiency in their operations. And technology is playing a big role in that. Technology is enabling manufacturers and dealers to understand their customers' needs. And when they're going into the rough market, they then have greater insight into their rough purchases, what rough purchases they need. There's also, technology is also driving a reduction in turnaround times in manufacturing. And then we look at the grading space, that technology such as AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning is improving grading turnaround times and also consistency, which is a hot topic today. And so that's what we're expecting from the manufacturing sector in particular, that this embracement of technology. And the manufacturing sector has been very tech savvy actually in the last decade or so. But at the same time, those inventory tensions still remain in terms of who's holding the inventory. And that midstream still needs the inventory to service their clients. When we look at the last decade of rough production, we saw that in 2008 global production fell as the mining sector tried to align itself with that lower inventory that the retail sector was holding, and that lower level held true until 2017, but new mines came on stream. And in 2017, we saw the spike in rough production, and that led to an oversupply and a bottleneck of supply really in the midstream, because all that rough went to the manufacturers. And obviously in 2020, there was a reduction in production, but the mining companies managed to actually sell about as much as they produced in 2020, and that surprised us. We thought there was going to be an increase, a buildup of inventory at the mining level in 2020, and that didn't happen. largely because there was really a big recovery in demand in the fourth quarter, that Alrosa and De Beers, as two of the most important examples, really saw a spike in sales in the fourth quarter. And we see this, that the last time we saw such an increase was at the beginning of 2017, and that was followed by that oversupply crisis that we experienced until the pandemic crisis. And we see similar patterns before that increase, that there was a lull in the quarters before that that spike in 2017, not to the same extent as we saw during the pandemic, obviously, but it's a similar pattern. And so that begs the question: is there too much rough coming to the market at the moment? And I would argue that if we see another quarter of rough sales to this extent, then we should really be worried about that, about too much polish entering the market and having an impact on the midstream again. The third factor that we mentioned was the emphasis on beneficiation. As I said, beneficiation is the program really of African governments to add value to their mining operations by introducing manufacturing, dealer markets, jewelry manufacturing as well. And this year, De Beers is negotiating a new deal with a new supply and marketing deal that it renews every 10 years with the Botswana government. And Botswana accounts for about 2/3 of De Beers production. And one of those, one of the things that will be in that deal is that the government will want De Beers to ensure that more product remains in Botswana to add value. And De Beers has already said that they're going to shift more rough to be polished by Botswana-based manufacturers. And we're seeing that already. And so and as Martin mentioned, that affects the distribution or the route that the diamond takes in its journey to the end consumer. That instead of going to Dubai, Antwerp, before it goes to India to be manufactured and then distributed to the United States or Hong Kong and China, Gaborone, the diamond will then be processed in Gaborone and sent directly to the US and other consumer markets. And so Gaborone not only is emerging as a rough trading hub, but also as a polished distribution center. And finally, we're really seeing a customization of supply. On the rough level, we're seeing a number of mining companies and initiatives in the rough market to enable manufacturers to buy rough that suits their polished needs. The most glaring example and innovative example, I think, is from Lucara Diamond Corp, which has its Clara platform that lets buyers source rough by putting in their polished specifications, and the platform will match the rough accordingly. We also saw during the pandemic that there was an increased digitalization of rough tenders, and that helps companies, manufacturers customize their purchases. And then finally, we've seen an announcement from De Beers that they're going to categorize their site holder supply. So they're dividing their site holders into manufacturers, dealers, and retailers, and providing a bespoke supply according to their needs, according to the retailer's needs, according to the dealer, according to the manufacturer. And there's a lot to say about that if we had more time, whether good or not for the market. But the idea is that the rough market is becoming more bespoke, more customized. Also within the customization headline is the trend towards traceability and source verification, and that really is it has gained momentum in the last year or two. And given the trends that I think Sonia and Elle and Martin will speak about later, we really are going to see an acceleration of this of these efforts in the coming year and beyond. We see that Tiffany has pledged to disclose the mine of origin of all its goods above 18 pointers by a certain date. And we're seeing these initiatives within the service providers, the GI Origin Report, Sarin's Diamond Journey Report, the Tracer Initiative initiated by De Beers. Everledger is working with a number of manufacturers and retailers to showcase the journey and to really be able to show to the consumer that they can trust where that diamond comes from. And that feeds into the drive towards more efficiency in the market. It may lead to a segmentation of the market, because some will be able to do it and some won't be able to plug into these programs. But ultimately, it helps us understand that initial question of how much rough and ultimately how much polish do we need to satisfy end consumer demand. So thanks very much for listening, and thank you, Martin. I'm looking forward to the rest of the webinar. Martin, you're on mute, I think. Yeah.
Unmute.
Martin, you're on
Okay.
mute. Yeah.
I'm now unmuted. Okay. A lot of people like to mute me. That's wonderful. But Joshua and his team have that ability. You may want to give me back the screen in a minute. But before we do that, I just want to say two things. We are going to be hearing from two more very important people on these ideas of what are the trends, what do we know, what can we say? And then I'm going to hit on the commercial, not the commercial, but the controversial issues after the two next speakers. But before we go to the two next speakers, I'd like you to please, all my friends who are on the call, please complete the survey so we can share that information with you about what our people are thinking. So without further ado, Joshua, can you please present the survey screen? Here we go.
Yeah, the poll is up.
Okay, so we've got 404 people on the call. Right now we have 0 people answering the survey. This will take a few minutes. People have to read the survey to answer it. So I'll just talk while you're doing that. The game that we're going to be looking at now is we're going to identify why people are buying jewelry. What is the trend? How is the jewelry consumer going to look like? And Sonia is going to be talking about that in a very few minutes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the role of social responsibility as a key value, added value factor in the jewelry industry as we move to the future. So there's some really interesting stuff coming up. And then I'm going to do some very surprising things after they're finished talking. And then I'm going to take you deeper into these issues of what are the trends? Where are they really rooted? And, people can say, okay, there's a trend, and the trend is that we're using computers more. Or okay, that's nice, and that's the trend. But what's the root of that? Why are people doing that? Well, obviously, Corona is enrolled, but there's deeper reasons why people are actually doing things. And if we understand those deeper reasons, we can position ourselves on the surfboard. We can say, oh, I see people are buying jewelry because of this reason. And then I can think about how I'm going to move with that trend. Remember, you don't have to make waves. You have to surf waves, ride waves. So if you can identify those waves and you can figure out how am I going to ride those waves, you're going to do pretty well. So that's the game. And you're going to do better than if there were no waves, as a matter of fact. Okay. So learning how to ride waves, you need to be able to identify the external forces that are creating these waves. And then you have to think internally and say, okay, I know that there's a trend of demographics. There's so and so many millions of people over the age of 75 that are selling jewelry. Okay, how am I going to ride that? Or we know that there's going to be more engagements or whatever have you in China. So I'll talk about that after we have these next speakers. We're already at about 49%. That's very nice. 199 people have filled the survey. We're still getting them in, so I would like to wait. Usually this whole tra-la-la takes a couple of minutes, and then I get to show everybody what are the results. So we've got 36% retailers so far, 25% other. That's a pretty big other group. And some dealers in here, 16%, and diamond manufacturers. Okay, there aren't many diamond manufacturers in the United States, but jewelry manufacturers. So this gives you a little bit of a handle of what's going on. So tell me, Joshua, how many more, are there more people filling out the form? You can see what's going on. And we will answer questions. And I do want to talk about that. I mentioned in the beginning, we don't want to ignore people. And if you've taken the time to write and ask a question, I will very much do my best to answer the question. I don't know I'll be able to answer all questions, but we were able to do a pretty good job the last time around. So I'm going to try to make sure that at the very end we will. And I think our team will be responding to people, letting them know, thank you for your question. We will answer you later. And we will now go through this thing. I'm waiting, wait a little bit more to see what goes on. But do ask questions, and you can always try to engage with us or engage with our team. You know, Martin Rappaport is just one little guy. There's so many other people in the company that know more than I do about a lot of things too. So, you know, you can talk with our people, get to know them. And I believe that even with the coronavirus, it's become in some ways easier for us to make connections with people online, which means our audience and who we can relate to has actually grown in a pretty decent way. So, you know, the new coronavirus environment should encourage greater uh, personal communication, one-on-onesies, you know, one-on-ones and stuff. And I know that at Rappaport, we're going to be making tremendous efforts to increase our digital marketing digital relationship communication building, which is what I see as a very important part of where we're going. Okay. So Joshua, how are we doing? Are we going to be shutting down the polling?
Yeah, we can end the polling. Do you want to do it? I'll do it.
Okay, I'll end the polling. I'll give it another 7 seconds. Okay. Looks like we're stable over there. And 4 minutes and 30 seconds, bang. Okay. So what happened? What are the polls showing us? Okay. So there's 35% of the people in the community in our group here are retailers, which is very important. And a dealer, 17%, 5% diamond manufacturers, 70% jewelry manufacturers. Okay. 49% of us predict that diamond prices are going to increase in 2021. Great. I love that optimism. And I think it's worth it. You know, I think it's going to happen. I really think that there's a good chance that that's going to go on. 14% decrease, 24%, and 13% are unsure. But that's very nice. Almost half of everybody feels that prices are going to go up for natural diamonds. In the role of the synthetic diamonds or lab-grown diamonds, you know, 51% think there's a decrease. I'll talk about synthetic diamonds later, but yeah, that makes sense because there's no shortage of supply. You just crank them out like you're going to crank out ping pong balls. So, you know, that's an interesting thing. And that's a difference, clear difference about how people are thinking about prices. Will there be an oversupply of polished diamonds? So I guess people have been listening to Avi's presentation, and people think that there will be, which is interesting. So we'll have to see how things work out. And, you know, when you talk oversupply, you want to think where oversupply in the rough, in the minings, oversupply in India, oversupply in the United States. But I think the point that retailers are not inventorying is very important, at least not until they see prices increasing in a way that it pays to inventory. It's a cost-benefit business decision, okay? But, you know, a lot of people are unsure. How important is social media? Oh, only 2% think not important, and 24% it's important, and 43%. I want to tell you guys, if we did this 5 years ago, we actually may have done this 5 years ago. Oh, those numbers were reversed. I mean, more than, you know, everyone said it was important. So this is a key takeaway from today's webinar, and you're going to hear it repeated again and again and again. Social responsibility, woo, very important, okay? And we have to make it possible, and I'm happy to say we're going to be doing some work in that area, but this is an important point. And 43% and another 24%, so that's like 67% say that this is really important. How much more were consumers willing to pay for social responsible jewelry? 1 to 5%, some say 6 to 10%, but it looks like quite a few people feel that you can get a higher price for social responsibility. And that's great. I mean, that's so important because, you know, society, and I'm going to make this point later, society gets the level of social responsibility, ethics, morality it's willing to pay for. So if consumers are willing to pay more for something, then that something shows up. And so this is very encouraging when I'm sitting here in these results. Over next year, I think my sales will increase. Great, more positivism, more good vibes about where they think things are going. And I really think this is really great. How important are your online sales? Some say important, some say not, but overall, again, you're getting to 61% here. And those very important men, these are leaders. These are guys who are going to be pushing things. So when you see these very important guys jumping in there, I would recommend Rappaport to a friend. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And do recommend me. And do you plan to attend the JCK show? And that's interesting. A lot of unsures there, 44%. No, maybe we should. I'm really wondering what's going to happen out there. So we're going to move on right now. This was great to share this information. And now we move along, and we will send you information. Also, we'll send you an email later to send you stuff. So you don't have to scribble things down. Just we will share the results. Okay. Now I'm going to close this. Right? If I click on share results, what do I click on?
No, you just close it.
I will
And-
just
On
bam,
there.
close. Okay, and now we are pleased to present Sonia Esther, who is going to talk about real interesting stuff. Jewelry, my friends, not just diamonds and mining and stuff. So Esther, take it away. Sonia, I should say, take it away.
Martin, you need to allow me on a video. I'm sorry. It seems like I cannot do it myself.
Oh, because I'm doing things. So let me just go into here. Okay, we're getting better at this, everybody. No, I'm not sharing the screen. I'm not controlling the screens. So, oh, I have to allow you. I guess I can do that somehow. I guess I'll just click on share. Is that what I needed to do, Joshua? Somebody tell me that I did.
No. There's something with issue.
So
with
then I have to stop sharing. You guys are controlling it, Sonia, so they'll let you have it. Now, the interesting, let me know when you're ready. Is Sonia up? Is she coming in? Now, the thing while Sonia's getting organized is that jewelry is so important. I mean, you got to understand your customer and your customer's customer. And here comes Sonia talking about this. And it's so important to think about, what do they want? What do people want? And why do they want it? So Sonia, you back on? What's the story with Sonia? Are we able to get Sonia?
I'm sorry, Martin. I'm getting a message that my video has been stopped by the host.
Well, I'm not the host here, I don't think. So Joshua, can you deal with this, please? It takes a minute. Technology. Technology is great, and sometimes it doesn't work. Do you have a problem with this now, Joshua? Is it me? Can I do anything? I'm not hearing from Joshua. Oh, it'll take a minute. So in the meantime, I'll just give you a little bit of a background on some of the most important things. Why are we interested in jewelry? Because that's the future.
Here we go.
Diamonds are, okay, so here we go. Okay, Sonia, take it away.
Hi, Martin. Hi, everyone. Now I'm going to share my presentation. So I hope I'm sharing with everyone now. Sharing, and please tell me.
There we go. Hooray, hooray. Okay.
Yes. Joshua Virai, am I sharing in the right size? Because I'm sorry, I'm not the most techie savvy person. Is it okay, guys?
There's a small arrow which you can close the right-hand side, the export PDF. Is there no small arrow in the middle? Just go below that. You'll make your screen just go down. There's a little small, just beside where it says convert to, there's a little arrow. If you click that arrow, it will move everything to the right. You see where it says convert to on the right-hand side with the panel with all the details of this PDF. Anyway, if you can't find it, just go ahead.
That's it? Sorry. Okay. So I'll get started here. What do jewelry lovers want? I know we have 10 minutes, so I'll try to go for the essential. What are the values that people want? They don't want value per se anymore. They want values. They want to know what the jewelry that has been made stands for. They want to know what the designers stand for, and they want to know what the retailers stand for. So we're going to look at a few key values that they're looking for. They're looking for connection to themselves, because we've been in a world that's been completely disconnected. We've been away from our loved ones. We've been stuck in our different places. People have lost the relatives, loved ones. It's been a very hard year with COVID, and it's been a year where people feel they want more connection to themselves and to the sentimental values that something represents for them. They also want to connect to the past. Could be family, could be heirlooms, could be something that just has a longer story and is not just a commodity. They also want something that's conscientious. This is not about conspicuous luxury, it's about conscientious luxury. They want to say, this is a jewel that looks good, but also it makes me feel good to wear it because of its story and because of its provenance and because of what good this jewel can actually make in the world. And they also want to have fun. because it's been a long, tough year since COVID started, and they want something more playful and more joyful, and to make a statement with a jewelry as an expression of themselves, and as something they say, I want something lively and fun. So I start with connection. Connection comes in different ways. So we've seen a lot of jewelry. There's letters. People want to have the letters, the initials, with a few diamonds, not depending on the designer. They want to have the star sign. For example, here I have Jade Tro, who does a lot of jewelry with diamonds. She had a whole new collection called Victoria, referencing the English Queen. So sentimental jewelry, and she did star signs, letters, and spiritual symbols. And people love it. You can layer it. You can have all your relatives expressed, condensed in jewelry. This collection is from Sorelina, and they are American designers that got inspired by the tarot. So a lot of people are looking for meanings. Celestial jewelry, spiritual jewelry can be customized. It can be layered. It can really tell your whole story, and it can also bring some kind of relief through the whole range of beliefs that people have. And also connection to the past, as I said. The designers we speak to for the magazine, for the blog, they all tell us they had an increase in the past year of commission, bespoke comments. People want something that's just made for them, but they usually use inherited stones, maybe an engagement ring that they don't want to wear anymore in the way it was, because life changes and your taste changes, and you want something that has an added story to it. So they will upgrade their diamond jewelry. Also, people are attracted to older jewelry because they will say the diamonds were ethical, because it seems like as soon as you're an estate piece of jewelry, everything is forgotten. And an estate jewelry being what it is, people love reusing and upgrading. And vintage jewelry has also experienced a massive boost in the past year. Estate dealers tell us people want to buy engagement rings, they want to buy brooches, they want to buy a bracelet, something that has a connection to time bygones. It's nostalgia, but it's also a design that is more unique because it's more rare and it's more difficult to find. Here I have an example of Cassandra Nicholson, an American designer who uses old cut diamonds set in really cool new designs. So she mixes the two, and our customers, our clients are enjoying this kind of link to the past. Another trend that we see, and I think that's something that Martin has touched upon and Avi has also talked about, and Elle after me will talk more about, is conscientious luxury. People want to know where their jewelry comes from, how it's been made, and by whom. Is it sustainable? Is it ethical? And is it responsibly sourced? The materials that's been used, the stones that have been sourced, that have been set in the jewelry. They want something that makes them feel good, and they're going to ask for a lot of questions, a lot more questions than they used to. They do their research, they follow the designers, they want accountability. We live in the generation that's here, the Gen Zs, the millennials, they ask tough questions, so designers have to answer. And there's a lot of designers, a lot of showrooms doing really exciting things. I just picked an example here with Muse Showroom. They created this collection of charms. So we go back to sentimental jewelry, personalization, adding the charms that you want, heart shapes. They worked with a range of 20 designers, I think, for this specific collection. And a lot of a percentage of the sales was for an organization that supports hungry people. But also now clients want to know, is my jewelry made maybe by a BIPOC designer? Because it's important to support Black-owned businesses after 2020. Is it something that is giving to charity? And also is the whole supply ethical? They also care about recycling. They care about packaging. They care about the social responsibility that the designer is supporting. So this is a new trend that is here to stay for sure. It's not a new trend, actually. This is the reality that we're in the jewelry industry. And because, as I said, there is a real trend for fun, colorful, playful. Enamel is being used, colors mixed with diamonds, big rings, big necklaces, layering. Melissa Kay used to do a lot of collections, big, heavy on diamonds, and she's introduced these colorful enamels in her recent collections. It's fun, it's layered, and it says, you know, we want to have something a bit more playful in our day-to-day life. Emily P. Wheeler, also, she does work with a lot of gemstones, and she's a designer that works with recycled metals, ethically sourced gemstones. She's accredited by the Responsible Jewelry Council, which also is something that clients want to know. They want to know, are you kosher? You know, is your jewelry beautiful, but also meaningful and also responsible? And I would like to finish with something that is the bread and butter of our industry, the engagement ring. And the engagement ring is fitting all these trends together, because people want to buy an engagement ring where they know the diamond has been ethically sourced. There's this really interesting collection that De Beers did recently with Blue Nile. The story behind it is interesting because they've been working with 10 female designers coming from different backgrounds. They asked them to design a ring respecting their own signature, but at the same time that is in an interesting price point, that has diamonds mined in Botswana. So you can tell the whole story of Botswana. And it's fun, it's cool, the designs are really interesting. 10 designers, 10 women, fantastic story of empowerment for the female designers and for the people on the ground in Botswana. Color gemstones, also, people might be upcycling, the heirlooms, or they might have a stone that they like. It might be their birthstone. It might be something that has a very specific meaning to them. Here we have a beautiful sapphire and diamond ring by Mirta de Gisberg, who's based in New York, who's a jewelry consultant who works on a lot of custom projects and has seen an increase in colored gemstones engagement ring. Vintage inspired, same thing. Maybe you don't buy a vintage ring or an antique ring, but you want your ring to have this touch that might be connected to the past. This is a beautiful example by Maggie Simpkins, who's based in LA, who does only bespoke jewelry and who has a wonderful relation to our clients. She always includes a little touch of their personal story in their ring that they only want to know. So we're talking about high-end personalization, connection to the designer. She only sources ethical gemstones and gold. And also, I would like to say she's a fantastic example to follow in terms of Instagram, because she shares a lot of videos of behind the scenes. And you can see how she sources her stone, how she designs, how she works with her clients. So beautiful ring. And also I wanted to share an example of an antique ring. Art Deco Victorian rings are being popular. Walton's Antique Jewelry is doing a really great job at showcasing rings, and they've seen also a lot of people opting for a vintage ring in 2020, and it's something that's certainly going to carry on in 2021. So to wrap it, there's a lot of other subjects, big trends. I wouldn't finish this presentation without mentioning pearl necklaces, because Vice President Kamala Harris has been wearing it, and it seems like everybody is now interested in pearl necklaces. So big trend. Gender fluid jewelry, appealing to the Gen Zs, to the millennials. Big. Also, men also want to have fun with jewelry. We're back to in a time where people want to express themselves, and jewelry is a fantastic means to do so. And I would say for most jewelers and most retailers, share your story. If you have a beautiful story, share it. People want to know you, and they want to know your products, but they also want to know you, and they want to see. And I mentioned about Maggie Simpkins earlier, how she shares the behind the scene. Arak, who's an Indian, a Mumbai-based designer, high-end jewelry, also working with diamonds, also shares a lot of what's happening, how they make it. Show us the artisans, tell us that you're sourcing responsibly. Arak is also a member of the Responsible Jewelry Council. So it all comes together, and people want to know, and they do their research online, and they will check you out big time. So we know that over 90% of people will actually go digital before coming to your store. So they will want to know who you are, what's your story, what do you stand for, are you as ethical as you pretend to be? So it's a very exciting time because designers have really upping their game in transparency and disclosure. And I think this is what the consumers want. And I think this is going to be really exciting to see how the industry is progressing and offering beautiful pieces that have emotional values and also more than just the material price. So that's it. So thank you so much for having me on this webinar, Martin.
Thank you very much. Your wonderful presentation. And I think everyone needs to understand and that.
And I'm sorry. I'm just going to do one last thing.
Sure.
I want to say, sorry, Martin, I just want to say that I picked 3 cool things that I think are underscoring the whole industry and the whole jewelry trends at the moment. But we have an Instagram account called Jewelry Connoisseur by Rapaport, on which we share 5 days a week trends and news about estate jewelry, contemporary designers, high jewelry, bridal trends. So, please check it out, and we cover many more themes, and we try to only cover designers that we believe in and that have the approach that is relevant and suitable to the standards we hope for the industry. So.
Excellent, Sonia. And truthfully, one of the things we do to give back to the industry are to make people like Sonia available. And that's really great. And Sonia, thank you. That was an excellent presentation. It is vital for people to think about, okay, I've got jewelry. What am I going to sell? What is the trend? And the trend, in spite of the fact that we might think, oh, everything's now on the computer and people are less meeting with each other, I think what we're seeing is the opposite. In other words, because of what has happened with coronavirus, you might think that now we are all going to be becoming these cool people that just use computers, but there's this need for greater information about the individual you're dealing with, about the jewelry that you're buying, the personalization. And if you remember before, I talked about the we and then the me. So the me is starting to reassert itself in how people buy and what they buy. Okay, and now I'm really happy that we have Elle Hill with us, and Elle is going to talk about social responsibility. So take it away, Elle, and I hope, Joshua, you guys can have a smooth transition to Elle's screen. I am praying.
I think you can hear me but not see me. I have the same unable to start video message.
All right, so I don't know what to tell you, but let's first of all, let's hear from you then. In the meantime, we'll try to get that. Joshua, can you?
Now, Elle.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, I'm really excited to be here. First of all, thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure to listen to Ari and Sonia. And I want to echo some of the things that came up in each one of these presentations about very different topics. And that really is that shift from the we, the me generation to the we generation. And the fact that purchasing jewelry isn't just purchasing a thing anymore. What people want to do is they want to buy from businesses that align with their morals and their values. They want to see behind the curtain and understand what they're supporting. They really want to know the story, the storyteller, and then the product. So in a way, they're rooting for and cheering on for wanting to buy what they want to buy. And if they can come up with those extra reasons that support and align with their morals, their ethics, their sense of responsibility that the we generation has, then that encourages them to make that purchase. And that makes them feel good about making that purchase, because it's no longer just about them. It's about what is this doing for the entire world, and how are the people that brought this product to market being treated by their business, and how is the environment being treated by this business. So all these things are extremely important. Now, we've been hearing about this for a little while now. And I think just as recently as a few years ago, the Harvard Business Review did an article that said, everybody is saying, I really would support more socially responsible products. But when they got up to the cash register, they were not handing over cash for that product. Now, I think 2019, the Harvard Business Review released a new report that said the consumers are voting with their wallets. They are willing to pay more for product that is socially responsible, that is environmentally responsible, and that has ethics that aligns with their own. And they are looking for ways to see the verification and validation that that is the case. So Sonia touched upon it too, that the jewelry no longer is about how much of value in the jewelry, dollars and cents, but more the values behind the jewelry maker, the storyteller behind the product. So this is what's really important. And we're seeing the data to back that up for us now. Even when it comes to packaging, we had a Boston Consultant Group survey that found that 74% of consumers were willing to pay more for environmentally sound packaging. So this is the box the diamond goes in. This is the parcel packet. So there is a real permutation from beginning to end by the consumer to want to see responsible sourcing, social responsibility at every stage of extraction, manufacturing, production, jewelry design, development, and bringing it to the market. Why is this important to you? You know, the brands, the people on the front line, the retail brands and the brands, jewelry brands and designers are putting their name in front of that product. And with this new consumer that is more and more interested in the who, what, where, and why behind the jewelry and not just the jewelry or the diamond itself, they're not going to risk that they're working with anybody who isn't supporting those social responsibility goals that everyone is demanding it from at a consumer level. So as you go to market with your product, think about your supply chain behind you and your who you're selling it on to, and ask the right questions, because those questions are going to be asked of you. And no one is going to risk the faith and confidence that they have from their end consumer by working with someone who isn't displaying, validating, and announcing the way that they're doing business in a social responsible way. So a few more statistics that are really interesting about this is that one of the big proofs that was a precursor to this was that 50% of the consumer goods growth from 2013 to 2018 was in products that were marketed as socially responsible. 50% of the growth. So even before we thought that people were starting to vote with their dollars, we see that we already had the trend that the growth was coming from those areas. Now, today, I think 3 months ago, a large Vogue article said, finally, sustainability and responsibility are the top priority in the jewelry market. So the writing is on the wall. The retailers, the consumers are demanding it. Therefore, the retailers, all the retailers that you want to be working with are demanding it from their supply chain. So you will have to demand it from yours as well, and show those behind the scenes that Sonia mentioned quite correctly that are very important. Nobody wants to buy from an unknown entity anymore. They want to see what it is like in your office, what it is like where you trade, what it is like where you make the jewelry. So the more authentic and transparent you can be, the more trust you're going to have from your supply chain and your end consumer. So the big takeaway for me in conclusion and for you is that businesses must initiate sustainability into their competitive strategy if they are to foresee a future down the line 5-10 years. It is a non-negotiable today. And if you'd like any more information about the statistics that we're talking about, we'll be happy to share them with you. And I conclude on that happy note that the consumer is voting with their wallets. They want social responsibility.
Thank you very much. Ella, as usual, it's wonderful to hear from you. And I want to say that, and you can just kind of work to give me back the screen here, guys, but I want to say that we are going to take very proactive measures to introduce social responsibility opportunities into RapNet. We'll actually be tagging jewelry, tagging diamonds. And I think that also the upcycling, instead of calling it recycling, upcycling, I like that phrase, will have a huge impact and a great opportunity for us. What we're going to do now is we're going to move on to something pretty interesting, I would think. I'm going to zoom along over here. And I'm going to pick up the ball after these presentations. Now, I'm going to remind you again about the big waves of change. So money, we understand that. Polarization, not so much, but we're going to dig into that now really well. And then the we power, which we talked about. And, you know, we went, and even though we went from a me generation of baby boomers to a we generations of millennials, and from the baby boomers to millennials, but there's still a me identity in the we. There's a me in the we. And that is a great place for jewelry to be there. And I think that's what Sonia talked about. I want to say that, look at this gap. We looked at and we saw that stock market S&P 500 going up, going up, going up, going up. But there's a tremendous divide in America right now. And America is important. And there's also a divide in China. There's a divide in other places. But this divide, this gap, it's getting worse. And, you know, there's some people who are looking at that and saying, you know, what are we doing? And what are our values? And you know, I was very interested to hear the word of people aren't just buying value, they're buying values. And there needs to be a balance. But in any case, we need to understand there's a fundamental trend in terms of this divisiveness. And there's the move towards socialism in the United States as well. Now, I'm going to do something now that I'm sure I may get a little bit of unhappiness from some people. Now, I'm going to show you how the AOC movement, I'll call it the AOC movement, is developing in the United States. And it's not because I promoted it or like it, but it's because I understand it a bit. And I can see the authenticity of what's happening in the political scenario, but it's not just politics, it's social change, it's economic change, it's the way people are thinking about things. So one of the things that I'd like to share with everybody, it's a 2-minute video, and it'll show you about, and the name, this is a first prize, a starter to a movie, actually. It's a lead, whatever they call it, lead to a movie. And the name of the movie is Knock Down the House. We actually saw that on the 6th. But what we're talking about January 6th, but this was made before by a bunch of important progressives. No, I'm not progressive. I don't like progressives. I am not a socialist. I don't like socialists. But they are there. So you need to remember, just because you may like or not like something is irrelevant to understanding the waves of change. You got to surf all the waves, even the waves you don't like. So you need to understand what are the trends that are really coming. And this, my friends, is one of the most important trends as you see the change of how people are thinking and what people are saying. So I think that being able to watch this, and can I actually play this, somebody here? Let's see if it'll work. I see a screen, and you know, I'm gonna have to talk to you guys and
share
see
screen. Yeah, and then click the 2 bottom boxes.
the bottom boxes. I don't see any bottom boxes here.
Share screen.
Oh, I have to share the screen first. Okay, so let me do that. It'll take a second. Okay. Oh, here we are. Boom. Let me take a moment here and see what's going on. 1 second. So we have a lot of excitement and fun here. Let me just press this. Let me just press that. There's a number of changes here. I'm sorry for the knock of smoothness in this. We actually, you know what? I'll just jump out to the actual thing out here in my own computer. And here it is. Let me just take a look over here. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, I'll just go over here and I'll just show it to you the other way. We're going to get better at this, I promise you. And I'm going to show you this Knock Down the House. Am I sharing my screen? Hold it. Am I okay?
You're not sharing. No, you're not sharing.
Okay. So hold on a second. Sorry, everybody. It'll just take a minute. Well, it'll just take a moment to get this all organized, and it will take. I apologize for the thing, but we're going to get better at this as we do more of these things. Okay. So share the screen. Share the screen coming up. I will have options for videos. Share the screen. And then we will try to go back to I'll do the PowerPoint and see if this will work. Okay, I don't think it will. And then I will simply go to the movie here. 1 moment, please. it's really worthwhile watching. So we'll see how that works out. No, and we just jump around over here, and I'll just hopefully everything will work now.
If I was a
Can
rational
you guys hear me?
person,
Is that
I would
okay,
have dropped
Joshua?
out of this race a long
It's working.
time
Working
ago.
fine.
Listen up, everybody.
Crowley hasn't had a primary challenger in 14 years.
He's taken $3 million per cycle. He's going to tell me I'm small, that I'm young, that I'm inexperienced. My mom cleaned houses growing up. I never really saw myself going into politics. Americans aren't asking for a lot. They're just asking for politicians to help them get by. I can do this.
I know you can.
Left wings, I was a broken thing. Had a voice, but I could not sing.
We're doing something very controversial. People say, how dare you mount a challenge to someone who's so established?
So last line have been crossed. Had a voice,
It's not just our family, it's 30,000 families a year losing loved ones because they don't have insurance.
I was not trying to become an activist. I live 6 minutes from Ferguson.
But there's a scream inside that we are trying to hide.
Being a woman of color, our image is scrutinized. People in my district, this is how we look.
It's such a lie.
I come from a long line of coal miners. We've been collateral damage. They underestimate us.
I'm running because everyday Americans deserve to be represented by everyday Americans.
I'm not going to allow my daughter to have died for nothing.
The problems that we have in our district, we ourselves can fix.
I get scared of the cynicism from people really believing in something and then it not working out. I just don't want to let them down.
You have to be fearless, or they're gonna come after you. Nobody owns you yet.
No matter what the outcome, it will never be the same.
We're going to fight for each other.
Some of us have got to get through. It's about the whole movement.
For one of us to make it through, 100 of us have to try.
So what does this mean? And are we seeing a change in how people feel about themselves and their politics? And are people taking politics seriously? Are people thinking about where they are? And try to understand this, my friends, listening in on this, okay? This is very important because it's happening. You know, for one of us to make it through, 100 of us have to try, which means there's a progressive movement, a socialist movement in the United States of America. And it's not bad. You gotta not think about good and bad. I don't agree with it. I don't like Elsie particularly, and she's very, very problematic in so many ways, but she's real. And the people that she talks are real. So when you look at the extreme left, and that's what this is, you might say, this is the extreme left, they're influencing the center. They're going to have a huge impact on the center of the country, on people's attitudes, people's social values, what people expect. And they are ferocious. You should see her attack Gates, and you should see her attack other people in the Congress. It's unbelievable. And so we're being called to task. We are being called to our, the diamond industry, the jewelry industry has a place. We can do great. But we need to know that this game that we're playing is going to be looked at. It's going to be, we're going to be checked out. And that's what you've been hearing from everybody else around here. But we have to be legitimate, 100% legitimate. And look, you're talking about millennials, and you're talking about the we generation, 20 to 40, 90 million people. They're the largest segment of the US population, and they will bring the disease along with them. Now, the disease may protest a little in this and that, but the baby boomers are toast. Now, you're talking about upcycling, recycling. Okay, you're going to have how many people over the age of 65? 32 million, another 22 million. So you're talking about, say, 56 million people that are going to be reselling the jewelry. So what you saw before about, oh, people want history and all that, and they want upcycled, that's great. Now, the millennials have values, and they're going to take those values and they're going to push them, and they're going to be influenced by the progressives a lot. So the new trend, the new world, it's not just about have ethical jewelry, it's be an ethical person, because they can afford to be ethical in so many ways. So the old world is changing a lot, and you need to understand that wave of change, and you need to ride it. And you might say, okay, I'm going to be in the recycled business or the upcycled business. Yeah, that's fine. You can ride any wave you like. Lots of waves out there. But if you really want to understand the trend, you got to watch what AOC is doing as well. You got to watch the S&P 500, and you got to watch AOC. There's like a question. This came up also. What are companies for? Are companies for their employees? Are companies for their employees? Are companies for their just to make money? Are companies for the stakeholders? Look at the Bears, right? Is the Bears just there to make money, or are they there to help Africa, help Botswana, introduce into Botswana the idea that people can cut diamonds there, get more added value for Botswana? What is the purpose of a company? What is your purpose in the jewelry business? And so you're going to have to transcend the old way of, hey, maybe to sell a piece of jewelry, it looks very nice. That's it. Not enough. It's not enough to have a nice piece of jewelry. You have to add value by selling above something more, which is by selling your values. Add value by selling values. Add value by selling your values, which means you have to have them, by the way. Look at the retailers. The retailers did okay. I mean, overall 16% down. This was, and I'm amazed. The mining companies, okay. Diamond prices track the S&P. These retailers. I mean, it's interesting. You look at Tiffany. You really should show Tiffany China, flying up. U.S. Obviously, New York's closed. I mean, the point is they didn't do so badly. It was not a catastrophe, everybody. But there's a new direction. And every one of these companies is going to be thinking about social responsibility, you can be sure, but they're going to be thinking about the trends, they're going to be thinking about the fact that people have money, and they're going to be moving along in those directions. So what you really want to be thinking about is, okay, what's my customer's customer like? What is my customer like? You really got to get in there with your customer. You got to really show them some love. Show them love. Now, this is an interesting story also about how the impact of social media and community works. GameStop was a company. This all happened in the last 2 weeks, I think. The 20th, yeah, it's 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks. So you have these Wall Street guys shorting stock because they figured this is going out of business, this GameStop, not going to happen. And then you had this group of people on Reddit who ganged up using their market power and said, we're going to push this stock up. It doesn't work. And then the value of this company didn't matter. This was a battle. This was a fight between the haves and, I wouldn't call them have-nots, the super haves and the regular haves. And so people said, we're going to push the price up. I mean, it went up to over 400. This is daily closes. And they won. The guys who shorted the stock, and I don't have time to explain how shorting, we lost billions, tens of billions of dollars were lost by the big guys on Wall Street. So the we power said, we're going to use our social media grouping, and we're going to get out there and strike it to the rich. We're going to kill the shorts. We're going to kill these guys and play in the stock market. So it's the age of payback. You guys have been abusing us, and it's almost like I was remembering in the '60s the demonstrations that were starting against the Vietnam War, and like there was this fight, there was this strong vibe of, hey, let's do something about this, and that's what I'm seeing from the millennial generation. And these are not kids; these are 20s to 40s. So this knock down the house idea of the 90 million millennials, they want to knock things down. And jewelry can be with them or they can be against jewelry. I would hate to see an attack on diamonds or jewelry like this one. Okay, you need to be careful here. So when we think about Zimbabwe, and and I have a lot of respect, for people like Mr. Asher, who's a great guy, runs the World Diamond Council. The World Diamond Council does a lot of good things. But they're selling goods from Zimbabwe and they're ignoring it. They're taking goods from the Congo. People are getting killed. Now, I can't spend my life fighting all the evil that's out there. And I do fight evil as much as I can. And we can. We at Rappaport, not just me. But the real solution is to come up with good things to do. good ways to show. So when I look at what DEF is doing, or when I look at what RJC is doing, RJC is not perfect either. You got situations where people, RJC members probably selling Zimbabwe diamonds as well. It's not good. It makes me sick, actually. But we need to move in the right direction. That's the key. And the leaders in the industry need to move. And the Rappaport Group has to also create opportunities for people to show the good stuff, show what we're doing right, but never to greenwash. If you greenwash someone like AOC, they'll bury us. No greenwashing, no lying, no misrepresenting. So just think about who you are, what you sell, and what your values are, and if you can sell your values. Whoever's on this call, think about if you can sell your values. And think about if you have values and what they are. Because your values can't just be we're in business to make money. There has to be more than that. Okay, a story about a rabbi, okay, so, and how we think about all this controversy, okay. So there's this rabbi, right? And he's sitting in his study and knock, knock, knock on the door. In comes this guy, a husband, and he starts telling the rabbi stories about the wife. My wife, she did this, she did that. Rabbi listens patiently, very nice, okay. And then the rabbi says, you know, you're 100% right. And the man picks himself up, feels a little better, and he leaves. 5 minutes later, knock, 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 knock on the door. In comes the wife. And the wife starts telling stories. Cool, what stories? The rabbi's beard stands up. Unbelievable stories. And the rabbi listens, the rabbi says, you know, you're 100% right. She leaves. Now, the rabbi's wife is listening to all this, and she comes over to the rabbi and she says, Rabbi, she says, how can they both be 100% right? And the rabbi looks at his wife and he says, you know, you're 100% right too. So what does this mean? Everybody's right? Well, yeah. It is vital that we do not put our values in front of our understanding of what's going on. Different people have different perspectives. And if we want to transcend the tremendous amount of separation, antagonism, differences, look, half Americans have more or less voted for President Trump, half Americans voted for Biden, and that's okay, but they're all at each other's throats. I mean, I'm pleasant about it. AOC is not a pleasant person. She's a strong person. Maybe she's right on a lot of things, but she's certainly not pleasant. She does not mind making people feel very bad and uncomfortable, as do the people on the right. So now, what do we do about this? We're selling jewelry, we're selling diamonds, we're going to sell everybody. So we can't take those kinds of value positions. When I say values, I don't mean like we hate people, okay? I mean we love people. And we got to love everybody, and everybody has to be right. So you got to understand a couple of things, okay? Identifying trends does not mean that you're taking sides. Having values doesn't mean you're taking sides, although you don't have to do everything everybody. Extremist views influence society. She was, they're crazy, AOC. Yeah. No, AOC is not crazy. She's extremist, but the movement towards progressives will continue to gain momentum in the millennial environment. That's a fact. It's a wave. I make the wave, though. Do I like the wave? Maybe I don't, but it doesn't matter. Recognize those that impact society, especially if you do not agree with them. Sell them, work with them. Don't fight with them. Fighting is not going to get you anywhere. It's funny from a guy like me, it's because we're all fighting. Okay. I mean, here we got boycotted and all kinds of terrible things when we went down with diamond prices, but I didn't fight with anybody. I just said, okay, that's the way it is. Did my job, took a lot of heat. And now, thank God, people are coming back working. So the point is that what you need to do is be an honest person that does your own thing, and you have to be true to your values. That is the most important thing. Digitalization, the idea that the world is going towards online stuff and everything, and I think that it's starting to become pretty clear what's going on. If you look up here, you see that we're moving, that there's different people, right? Some people have a low level of diamond and jewelry expertise, and some people really understand the products unbelievably well. Some people are really good with technology, but they don't understand diamonds. So let's say you got 4 boxes, right? Now, if you're a typical super jeweler who has got a high diamond and jewelry expertise, but low technology expertise, you're in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. And then there's these other guys, these young whippersnappers from Silicon Valley who think they know everything. And they know technology. Hey, baby, whoa, we can do technology. But they don't understand anything about diamonds and jewelry. And they jump in. I mean, at the time Blue Dial jumped in, for example. I don't know, they've had a pretty tough time getting where they get. And now they do already have stuff. Certainly, if you got low diamond expertise and low technology expertise, you're toast. This guy's out of the game. This is the box to go to. Now, I imagine a lot of people I'm talking to are people that are like, they know the diamonds and they know the jewelry, but they may not have the ability to do technology. And when I talk about technology, it is so big, it is so broad. I'm not just talking about having machinery in a factory to cut diamonds. I'm not talking about the best machinery to laser inscribe. No. I'm talking about marketing technology. I'm talking about things like HubSpot or Wufoo or all kinds of things that you need to learn to bring yourself closer to your customer. And that's really the key to success. Because other people are going to do it, but not only are other people going to do it, that's what you need to sell. You need to sell the ability to get close to your customer. It's not just the values, your ability to communicate those values. You can be the nicest person in the world, but if you can't communicate in the digital era, you're not going to make it. So you need to invest in this idea. And this is a trend. It's a super trend. It's a beginning of, it is the most important, most important thing is to have values, and add value by having values. But if you got to communicate, you got to be able to use technology to communicate. I'll say a few words. I'm almost done here. I'll say a few words about synthetic diamonds. Unintended consequences all over the place. As I mentioned earlier, it's an alternative production opportunity for diamond manufacturers. They don't have to buy natural diamonds at natural rough and high prices to keep the factories going. This is a big consideration, and it's a big positive because there's no shortage of these things. So you can always get them. But that's the other fly to this. There's an ethical issue here. And the ethical issue is that retailers are not informing their customers. Now, maybe some are, let's say 100% of retailers, but most of them, as far as I can tell, maybe we can do some research, are not informing their customers that synthetic diamonds are different than natural diamonds in terms of their ability to hold value. I gotta fix that spelling. Which means that if, what's going on is wholesalers are selling the diamonds cheaper because prices are going down for synthetic diamonds, but retailers aren't so fast dropping prices. They're comparing the synthetic diamond or the lab-grown diamond to a natural diamond, but they're different, because that natural diamond will hold value because of scarcity, and this one won't. So you really got to be nervous about that, because that customer is going to come back and say, "Oh, how much will you give me for my synthetic diamond?" And that's going to be a real problem. So I don't think they're ethical product, which I don't want to make they're not an ethical product today because of the way people are selling it. If people sell them with full disclosure, no problem. It's like moissanite, it's like cubic zirconia, it's like whatever it is, As long as there is no misrepresentation, and as long as the customer is not going to become unhappy upon resale. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought they were like regular diamonds. I'm very surprised I can't. See, you really need to understand that. And if you do sell them, you need to understand. From the perspective of Rappaport, we are not interested in creating markets for things that mislead people because of the way they're sold. And I do intend, when I get some free time, which is almost never, to send something to the Federal Trade Commission, because I think they made a big mistake here by not requiring people to disclose the fact that synthetic diamonds are not the same when it comes to value retention. And value retention is an important component of the product. So you got to be careful. I'm not telling people what to do. Rappaport, we're not dealing with synthetic diamonds at this stage. And I don't think we will until they become a legitimate product in the fact that most people are, in fact, or everybody is disclosing them. And I'm going to look at that and think about maybe giving a trade alert out, because it's really sad. Everybody's just doing this. And I think millions of consumers are going to be so upset when they find out, oh, I want to sell my diamond. Oh, it's not worth anything. Now, maybe consumers don't care. They say, it's okay. I just want to give my girl something. That could be. But I think they're going to be freaked out when they find out the price of what they paid and the price of what they can get. They expect it to be like diamonds. And diamond value is an important factor. So we've come to our conclusional slide, a personal message, and this is personal. It's me, Martin Rapp. How are you guys? And we're developing new products aggressively now. We're going to be launching, and I hope, quite a few important new products in 2021. We respectfully ask for your support and advice. We want you to tell your friends about us. We want you to look at the products we're putting out there. We want you to give us advice. Say, hey, this is a lousy product, a better product. You can make it better by doing something else. And a lot of people do that, and I want to take a moment to thank them. So we are really appreciative of the relationships that we have with our clients, RadNet members, Priceless members, auction members. And we want to get a better relationship with you. I thank you for attending this webinar. I look forward to hearing from you. You can go info@rapoport.com. You can send messages directly to me. I won't always answer them personally, but they will get processed. I got 4 or 5 people looking at all my emails. But I think that the real thing is about people. You know, a stone can be cold and cool, but a person has a heart. And we have to bring that heart with our product, the emotional values. That's what we really are all about. And so I think that as we see the trends and the trends towards peoplehood, and it's funny because you talk about, okay, we're the we generation, okay, we're using computers, okay, we're doing all that. But now all of a sudden we're starting to think about who am I and who do I love and who do I want to work with and who do I want to buy from and who can I trust? So on one hand, there's this sense of the we, but we should not ignore this emerging sense of we, where people look for the me in the relationships with people. So recognize that and understand it. So I thank you all very much. I'm going to look at the questions now. Hopefully I can find them. And we'll see where that goes. Okay, it's another adventure. And let me see if I can, here we are, 24 Q&As. So my team is always saying, don't try to answer all of them, but I will try to answer some of them, and we'll see how it goes. Your personal opinion, how Israel will do regarding lockdowns since a good part of the population got the vaccine. Well, I am in Israel right now. We normally hold auctions in Israel of single stone diamonds that are upcycling. We were unable, we had the auction in New York last week, or this week even, it was last week, and we were unable to ship the goods to Israel. So Israel's still in lockdown. I think it's going to work out. I think we just have to have patience. Okay. We have, I think, a total of 3 of our Rapoport employees in Israel have gotten coronavirus. We are protecting ourselves. I personally have had both shots and a week or 2 to go by it, so I'm okay. 1 second. Joshua Kirsten would like to answer this question. Do you have a chart of diamond industries? Yes, we do have such charts. I can possibly make one available. We'll see. We're going to be doing more information that we'll put out there, and I think that's a good question, Andre. Amy, how do you see the trend towards knowing your diamond source and the simultaneous increase in recycled? Well, it's great, man. Knowing your diamond source is the key. Recycled diamonds or upcycled is a source. And, you know, I've gone to the pawn shops and seen how they work. I actually spent time looking at how they package the goods and work the goods. And pawn shops are interesting because they have to document everything so it's not stolen. So I think this is going to be great. And we're also going to be working on something with RapNet that is going to be able to tag diamonds with the social responsibility, including source certification. So it's a lot of exciting work that we're going to be doing there also to make it available. I know everybody wants to, but I don't know. I bought a diamond. I don't know where it's from. So we're going to work on it. What about Amazon selling diamond as if it is a common item without the seduction of people? Well, they sell what they sell. You know, people, the cheapest place to buy a diamond is actually Costco. And they do that. So, you know, everybody has a choice. Some people want to buy a diamond at Costco, don't want anything. And some people want to go to Tiffany and get the blue box. And, you know, it's interesting. If you look at Blue Nile, right? So Blue Nile works in a margin now, 20%, something like that. And Tiffany works in a margin that's a lot higher. They sell the same customer, you know. Yeah, I would call them yuppies, but I don't know what to call them. Millennials, millennial yuppies. And, you know, college grads who are wealthier, and maybe now people get married later, so post-college grads. And they sell the same customer the same diamonds, all of them with Jan Granny reports. So they all have different margins. So people want to get different experiences. And so there's a cornucopia or a rainbow effect for people who want to buy diamonds. So Amazon, they can try, but I don't think Amazon's got their act together, to tell you the truth, but we'll see. What are the top 3 things you learned in 2020? First of all, I learned more about my wife. I've actually been spending more time with my wife. And if you could not move these questions so fast so I can see them, Joshua, whoever's playing with it. The first thing is I learned to know my wife a little better. We work with from 6 to 7 in the morning. We take a walk every day for an hour. and not many people are around, we wear our masks. That's one thing I've learned. I've learned also that the internet is a personal tool, and that I've been able to establish relationships and build connections and do things with the internet. And I've also learned that it's more efficient to work from home. And I've made sure that everybody that works for me can work from home. And, you know, I've learned to be flexible, and I've learned to make sure that I'm caring about my employees and their problems. I hear their kids on the phone all the time. You know, I'm doing a Zoom, there's this kid yelling, screaming, and I just say, okay, you know, just let it go. So I'm learning to be more tolerant, I should say, of the environment around me. I'm learning to give more, just not be so, you know, just say, it's okay, kid cries, so kid cries, so what, at the end of the world. Which jewelry retailers that you think are doing a great job of marketing? Okay, I love Tiffany. I think Tiffany is doing an amazing job. I actually went to visit the headquarters of Cartier in Paris, and I was blown away by how excellent they are. So there's a lot of people, and then there's some small people that I know. I think Ben Bridge is probably, I don't know them that well, but they're probably doing an excellent job. And you've got a lot of different people doing different things. So different people in different areas. I remember there's this company, Windsor, for example, does an amazing job with estate jewelry. There's a lot of good people out there. Do you see a similarity of diamond protectives? And that's for Virginia. Do not move it so much. Do you see a similarity of diamond perspectives and other precious gemstones? Yeah, like I think that we talked about moving to other colored stones. So I think that the consumer is buying jewelry, not necessarily only diamonds. Diamonds are important and most important, but you know, they're buying stuff that they like, and I think millennials do not have the same diamond and, you know, dependencies that other people have. So diamonds, because they haven't been marketing them properly. But yeah, I think the perspectives of adding value, the perspective of ethical sourcing, the perspective of is it precious? And I think eventually, I didn't talk about inflation, I didn't talk about investments. There's a whole other story there. But I do think that, yes, there's a lot of similarity. And I think that when you look at the customer and you understand what the customer wants, and you're able to help that customer, it's great. And a plug for pearls. I think pearls are amazing. I think we have been asked by the government, Bahrain, to help them sell all natural pearls. And I'm going to talk to my guys about that now that our vice president is wearing them. But there's a lot of opportunity out there in all kinds of areas. Is the synthetic product and sales of synthetics, I see, yeah. Yeah, it's booming. It's going crazy because the profit margins are huge for jewelers there. Jordana, is this okay? Yeah, it is increasing significantly, hugely amounts. And we walk away from it. It's an example. I got values. It doesn't meet my values. I'm not going to make a market for synthetics because I don't like the way they're being sold to consumers without full and fair disclosure that their values will sink because there's no shortage or scarcity. What effect do you think LGDs will have on the natural market? I think they're going to go their own ways. LGDs will continue to get cheaper, and naturals probably continue to get more expensive. And eventually people will look at them like they look at some kind of a different item. I mean, you could buy plastic flowers if you want, you know, but real flowers, you know, it's just different. And I think that as the prices become different, people will understand the difference. What Martin Rabbit of 70s would say to Martin Rabbit of 30 years old 40 years ago. Rani from Brazil. That's a great question. I'm not 70 yet, although I'm well on the way. You have to wait another year for that. But I would say that your values today are more important than ever before, although they were important 40 years ago. I would say that you should learn. So this is the advice that I got. I was younger than 30. I was in the 20s. I actually launched the Rappaport price list when I was 26. Okay. But the advice I got was be good at something. It doesn't matter so much what it is, but be very good, be world class. There's a book, Good to Great, which is a really interesting book, and it draws 3 circles. And one circle is the circle of what you're passionate about. The next circle is the circle that you have skills for. And the third circle is the circle which you can make money doing, where people are willing to vote for you with their dollars. Now, if you find the area where all those 3 circles match, bang, that's where you go. So you have to love what you do, okay? And if you're just working for money, it's okay, and I understand it, and that's the way life is. But if you're lucky enough to be able to work on something that you love and you enjoy and you're good at it. You know, some people want to do something and they're not really good at it. And it's something that people are willing to pay you for. Yahoo, you're a winner. So Ronnie, do that. Virginia again, do you have any data for the European Swiss market of diamond import changes? We probably have such data. We have data on everything, but we have to charge people for it if we're going to keep. It costs a lot of money. We spend millions of dollars keeping data and dealing with data. Okay. What is an example of social responsible? What recommendation do you have for good and fair cut graded diamonds or any shapes with good or lesser symmetry grades? I mean, look, symmetry is a big issue in terms of the sparkle of the diamond. Why are EGL misgraded as 9? Okay, they shouldn't be. Well, I can't stop people from listing stones for sale, but I would ask questions. So a guy puts in FEBS or a decent stone, there's no GIA, there's no grading report. I would ask him questions. I'm against misgrading. I'm not against, I'm just against misgrading and the fact that there's so many AGLs out there that had that problem. But I think that, good and fair cut graded rounds, they're okay. I mean, the people should feel free to buy whatever they want. And if they want size over the shape of the thing, it's fine. I mean, an interesting point might be when you look at fancy colors. It's clear that the color dominates over the cut. So people are going to want a fancy colored diamond that was really pink or really whatever it is, even if it's more lopsided. So I think it's a trade-off issue for people, and I think people should feel free to do whatever they like. And it's a cool game. The one thing I won't tolerate is misrepresentation. Okay. But if people are putting stones without a GGF grading report and they're misrepresenting the quality of stones on RAPNet with or without grading reports, send me an email. Let me know who they are. We'll talk to them, and if necessary, we'll take them off of RAPNet. People have to be honest, and RAPNet is a community. It's great for diamond pricing. It's great for connections, but most of all, also, it's a community of people that have to be able to trust each other. No misrepresentation. What is an example of social responsible action that a brick and mortar mom can display? Okay, we're going to be issuing, hopefully, social responsibility certificates for stones in RAPNet. I'm talking to Savile, who runs RAPNet, about issuing, our best practices and say, okay, I did this as a RAPNet members, and so we're going to be thinking about what you can do. Join RJC. I don't agree with everything they do. Join them. Join RJC. Put a little stat and decal. Say, I am an RJC member. That would be wonderful. And so I think that there are a lot of things that brick and mortar mom and pop stores can display, can use, and contact us. We'll help you with this. Tammy, I think you're asking the right question, and I encourage you in every way that I can to do that. What role can RAPNet play in pursuing even government to lower polished diamond duties and imports to completely abolish this to pursue free flow trade? I've done everything I can. I did it so strongly that I got thrown out of the BDB once, Barat Diamond Bourse. We're in the Barat Diamond Bourse now. I have great respect for everybody in the Barat Diamond Bourse, etc. I wrote a letter to the government. There was a request by the GJPC, in fact, to do this. I asked for the abolishing of it. But we try, I think we can only ask. And I think that it's a shame that the government is making this mistake, but it's a wave, it's a thing. I don't control it, it's external. But I do my best to communicate to ministers and to other people in a rational manner. And I think that there's just might be all these other people who are so protectionist and they want to protect their markets, but big mistake. And they'll feel it. No question, they will feel it. I am concerned about a decline because they'll go into synthetics and they'll go all these places. But India had a tremendous opportunity to be a trade. The world is on a financial crisis due to COVID. Many people are selling diamonds. So the price drop. How long do you think? I don't think that the prices are dropping right now. I think that when people sell their diamonds, there's an opportunity for profiting by the people who buy them at below market prices. I think there needs to be more competition there. And one of the things we're doing, everybody wants to know, we're having our auction next Monday, jewelry, come and visit, come and see. I think it's Rapaport.com/auction, and you can see our auctions, and we'll send everybody an invite who came on this call as well. And you can see products. So we need a competitive market for people to sell their jewelry so they get a fair price. And that's what we're doing. But I don't think that they're driving prices down. There's not enough stuff coming in right now. And it's a pretty decent market. People want recycled or upcycled diamonds. Yes, please. It would be great to have these percentages be shared with M&A students and luxury jewelry management. Thanks. Michelle, send us a personal email. And I'd be happy to share some things, although not everything. We have had a situation where people just copy my presentations and presented themselves as if they're wrong. Okay, Joshua's typing an answer. If your business ethic is being the best price, how can you enlist social responsibility? What part of the business do we funnel this in? Well, Walmart, for example, is best priced, but they say it, but sometimes they're not best priced. The people are selling all kinds of goods. So, I don't know that it's a business ethic being best priced, although it's a good promise to a customer. It's good branding. But the most important thing is that you have things more important than price, and those would be the ethics of what you're selling. So if you can start selling goods that people have stolen, be the best price. So you need to sell whatever you're going to sell within the framework of legality and correctness. The securitization of diamonds, we're working on it, and I think that it's going to happen at some stage, and it is a great idea. Securitization might mean loans, but I think what you're really talking about an efficient bid-ask spread for diamonds, which is something we're working on, which we would like to do. What evidence data do you have that LGs don't hold value? We see that they've fallen. You just take a look in the stores. I did a call today with India this morning, and it was pretty evident, but I think there's some price lists out there that you can watch and monitor. You can also look maybe at the prices on Alibaba, okay, if you really want to see. But they don't hold value. And I think that they asked also, some of the manufacturers have said that they also expect diamonds. I'm talking about the manufacturers of synthetics or LDGs as well. But I guess we can dig them up. But just go on the internet and look at prices. Will this webinar be available anywhere as I logged in and missed the introduction? Yes, I'm going to be talking, Mohammed, to my team. We're going to edit the stuff and we will make it available in pieces with God's help. I got to talk to our marketing team and everything, and then we're going to try to make it available. With the difficulty differentiating lab, how will the retailer even know what they're selling or buying back? Buying back is a huge problem, but you need to be able to test them. We at Rapport have all this equipment. I don't know what the cheapest testers are. GIA had a nice product that you can use, like a little prongy thing. You probably want to buy one of those things if you're buying goods. But if you're getting goods, you really have to know your seller, and your seller has to make sure it's there. We'll check if it has a grading report, if it's a better quality diamond. If it's not, getting a tester if you're a jeweler seems to me like a pretty good idea. We have them in all of our offices, and we want to make sure. We have expensive machinery. We spent $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 on this stuff, but I think you can get something good from the GIA, and maybe other people do as well. A high-end colored stone market. Well, yeah, I mean, what we're doing at Rappaport is we are moving strongly into jewelry. And the RapNet jewelry is now being, is going to be prepared for a relaunch. We're going to be doing a lot of work with instant inventory, which is amazing, okay? And what we're finding is we move into jewelry, we're moving into the high-end colored stone market. So yeah, I don't know about loose colored stones yet because the price differentials are huge, but I do think that we are interested in understanding more about colored stones. And one of the problems about a price list for colored stones is the color communication system is very difficult. There's physiological things that people see diamonds differently. You know, women see colors differently than men, for example. Men see colors different than other men, and women and other women. And so there's a challenge in terms of color communication. I was even talking about yesterday about some of the Munsell system. I was talking to Sherry about it. But yeah, I think that we have to get in there, especially as we're doing jewelry. And jewelry is going to be very important for Rappaport. I really encourage everybody to give us about another month and then go to Rappaport. You can go now, but look at RapNet Jewelry. I mean, it's going to be amazing. I hope we will have the largest and best jewelry catalog in the world pretty soon. With the difficulty of differentiating, how will the retailer even know they are selling or buying back? Again, get a tester. Martin makes the point very well around the difference. But so what, unless buyers and sellers we know. I don't know what you're referring to, David, but maybe you're talking about lab and natural. So you got to get a tester. Do you have any comments about the securitization? I've seen this already. Joachim Johnson. That's a great name. That must be someone from Norway, Sweden, up north. I have noticed that some client ask for jewelry with rough diamonds. Yeah, I mean, if you've got jewelry with rough diamonds, we will put jewelry up. And I think that's interesting with creativity, doing things different, making things fun. It's great. It's wonderful. You know, rough diamonds, great. You know, pearls, rough emeralds, whatever your creativity takes you, God bless you. Rock with it. It's fantastic. Is there a succession plan for you? Yes, but I can't tell you about it, but I am working on it. Are you applying for the job? Our company buys insurance, salvage, jewelry, and loose stones. We have them recut and jaggered. Would they qualify? Yes, they would qualify for an upcycling badge as long as you could show your sources and show that what you're doing. But absolutely yes. And Michelle, our Kakai, would work with us. Call us. Somebody make a note here. We should be in touch with her. We are running these auctions all the time. We try to get fair market value. We would be happy to work with people who are recycling or upcycling stuff. I think it's great. Regarding Julian's trends, how do you consider fancy colors? You know, fancy colors had an interesting story. They were hot last year. I think they cooled off a little bit, but they will probably be hot again. They are scarce. They are rare. I think some of the marketing hype and pricing may be a little out of whack, but fancy yellow diamonds are definitely interesting. And they've come in, it's just the supplies, you know, they're shutting down these mines. So I think that fancy colored diamonds would be the exact opposite of synthetic diamonds in terms of scarcity driving value. How one can buy diamonds from Lucara or Stellar platforms, you got to contact Lucara and see what they want to do. I'm pretty sure you can do it as long as you show that you're ethical and you can pay. And it looks like we have actually somehow answered all the questions. So I very much appreciate everybody asking questions, building relationships. And look, we have about 150 people at Rapaport all looking to have relationships with people. And I would encourage everybody who is a Rapaport fan, comes to our webinars, likes us, etc. A, recommend us to your friends, please. We really need that. And B, talk to our people. Get your friend at Rapaport. Get yourself a friend at Rapaport. We want to help you to succeed, and we want to help you to do better. And we want the world and the jewelry business and the world to be a better place. So I thank you all for giving us and investing your time with us. And I wish you all well. And we will be working now to communicate with you some more. So all the best to everybody. Joshua, anything you want to say in closing here?
Just thank you very much. It was very good.
Okay, everybody, and stay safe. Everybody, stay safe. This Corona thing isn't over yet, and just really, one second. 2 participants raised their hand. I don't know if they want to. I don't think we can do verbal questions, so I think we're just going to call it a day. But do the people who raised their hands, please feel free to send us a note. And thank you, and thank you again. All the best to you. I wish you well. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody. You and your families and your associates.